Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you are all absolutely sensational, fantastic, and if you are in the land of Oz, hopefully enjoying a little bit of warmer weather. Well, I know that's what it's like here, well, in the sun anyway. In here, in the house, it's a little bit cool, but outside it is in the sun. It is really, really lovely. So, with the weather report under control. Hey Tracy, how you going? Thought that I would just come in to you for a very quick coffee run today. As you'll see, I'm back in my office. I've got the kids are back at school, much to my displeasure. Although it's really good for them, obviously, really, really good for them. It's a little bit like for me, because I really enjoy having them home. I really loved having them home. Admittedly, they are in high school, so there is not a huge amount of hands-on things that we need to do with them. So yes, it's been a really lovely time, and they are very happy back at school. So what I thought I would quickly come in with you today is a reminder for you to make sure that you are repurposing the content or repurposing the things that you have been putting out there. So for example, you may or may not know, I had a book published last year. The second, Into the Spotlight was published, which was the next book after Visible. I've written books before, but these two were the first two, I guess, books that were really about, well, Visible was all about how to make sure that you are getting yourself out there, how to use social media. Into the Spotlight's more of a guide or a workshop in a book, really, with how you can, why it's so important for you to step into the spotlight, and how you can pull out your genius basically out of your head, get it into a really cool structure that you can utilize till forevermore. Basically, it's about how you can differentiate yourselves in the market. But it was published last year through Major Street, which was very awesome, made its way to bookstores, it's made its way to the UK, it's done all of the things, which is really, really great. And I don't know, it's been a kind of interesting year we've had lots of lockdowns here in Victoria and things like that, and I didn't feel compelled or really motivated enough to do the audiobook version. So what I had done, and make a note of this, so this is relevant for any kind of writing that you do. It doesn't just have to be for a book. I was just scanning over the PDF version on my computer before starting the recording of the audio, and I was like looking at the headlines, and I'm like, oh, I've used these as like quotes and, right between the eyes things, like little short, sharp and shiny posts. So if you've got a piece of writing that you've done, be it a blog or something, some kind of inspirational thing that you've put together, then pull bits out and use it in your content. So I'll show you, for example, I'm going to take this off. Please, I apologize if you, whoa, that's close. I apologize if you feel dizzy, but I'll show you what I mean. So here's my Into the Spotlight PDF version, right? So I was going to start at the start. Sorry, just getting you up to the front. So there's praise, blah, 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 all these lovely testimonials from people, which is always lovely. Then we've got Into the Spotlight, Nicola Morris, which is kind of fun. Then the acknowledgements and the forward, the contents. And I want to show you what I mean. So the preface was really what I wrote was kind of like really about setting the scene. So this book is very much geared or revolves a lot around musicality and things like that. So, talking about if you're a musician, if you're an entertainer, if you're someone who is front of stage, then, this is what you would be, perhaps how you were feeling. So I've gone, imagine having that level of impact. So Jennifer Lopez felt waiting under the stage, ready to be hoisted up on the rising platform at the 2020 Super Bowl. Imagine being able to have that level of impact, to have a voice that could reach millions of people globally. So that there if this was a blog, for example, that could be one post that you could go and put up on social media with an image that went along with it. So then coming down here, truth bomb, many people won't like you, sorry, not sorry. There's another one. You can do everything right and there will still be people who don't like you. That's another whole post, right? What you could look at here as an example of this particular paragraph. So you need to be clear on how you can step into your own spotlight and reach the audience that you want to hear from you and learn from you. Then you get on with the job at hand without being boring and generic, because that will keep you hidden. So I could put, getting rid of that so, because I use so all the time, I could use that as a bit of more of an extended post, right? So without looking too hard, in this particular, just in like the first, 3 pages of here, there's a few, or even the first 2 pages, there's a couple of, just going to put you back on my tripod, hang on. Easier said than done, Nicola. All right, there we go. So what you want to do is go through and have a look at the writing that you have already done, and how can you use snippets of that for different pieces of content. I would suggest that you've probably got a lot more floating around than you even give yourself credit for. The next thing that you can do is you could do this as little bite-size, quick, maybe 90-second audios. So there's a lot of podcasts out there at the minute. It's the latest fun thing to develop and create, and a lot of people get really stuck with, well, what would I put on a podcast? It doesn't have to be a podcast like a 20-minute or a half an hour or a 3-hour podcast interview series that you do. You could just do small little audio bites of goodness, audio bites of motivation, audio bites of inspiration. So something, and you could put this out there for free, right? You can go and put your podcast up onto a platform like SoundCloud, have it auto feed over to Apple iTunes, for example. And your little sound bite for today could be, imagine being able to have that level of impact, to have a voice that could reach millions of people globally. Now, what this might mean for me is blah, 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 blah. You can do a quick little talk, like 90 seconds or a minute, for what your audience might do in regards to that sentence that you've talked about, and go and put that out as like a soundbite, as a motivational soundbite. Most people think, it's got to be this really long form piece of content. It's got to be highly produced. It's got to have ads. It's got to have intros and outros and credits and blah, blah. And you don't, right? But what is smart is using what you already have and looking at different ways that you can use parts of this content that you've already spent time creating, and use that as a way and a means of connecting with your audience more, giving them another modality perhaps in which to connect with you. So people learn in 3 main different ways. There's the visual people who really like seeing stuff. There's our auditory people that really like to hear things. And then there's our kinesthetic people that really like the touchy feely, right? The downloadable things, the texture, the feeling of how a piece of paper feels. So for me, for example, I give my planner away for free. This is my planner for this week. I have it on a digital copy on my iPad, but I prefer to have it on paper because of the way that I can interact with the document. It's how I stay on task better and things like that. I'm also not someone who is generally I prefer to generally listen to something versus engaging with watching a video lecture or something like that. So for your audience, there are going to be people who would prefer to watch you on like a live stream. There were people who prefer to listen to you on like a podcast channel. And there's going to be people who would prefer to download things and interact with a document or a PDF or a book or something like that. So make sure you're thinking about a piece of content that you might have created today, and think, all right, how can I use this in perhaps 10 other different ways. Turn it into a picture quote, record a quick audio quip or an audio clip to go along with it. How else can you use that? Can you turn it into a longer explanation or a shorter explanation? But the first port of call is I'd really encourage you to have a look at the writing that you've already done and pull chunks out of it from there, because there is often a whole ton of gold and a myriad of things that you can do with that, with the content that you've already created. Now, if you're time poor, a lot of people will say to me, oh, Nick, I know I have to go and do all of this, but I don't have time. I've got back-to-back clients. I've got, referrals coming out of my butthole. I've got all of this stuff going on. I've got a huge wait list, or I just don't want to. Great. Go and hire a virtual assistant that's will cost you maybe $20 an hour, unless you've got a child that you can turn into a child laborer. For example, like my 15-year-old, this is probably a good time for her to do this now, actually. You could employ them, hire them for however much money you feel it's worth, incentivize them, not bribe them necessarily, but incentivize them to, you go and pull the quotes out and you go and get them to go and do some fun things in Canva, or to create a PowerPoint presentation, for instance, and turn it into a video. You might be able to incentivize them to do something really kind of fun and creative with the content that you've already done. It doesn't have to be you all the time that is doing the repurposing. I always encourage and I always advocate for you to do the writing and for you to do the content creation, right? Because it's got to be your words, it's got to be your voice, it's got to be your feeling, it's got to be your energy that comes through. You can't outsource that, but you can definitely outsource all right, what am I going to do with this now? And then get someone else to help you to do that. So, making use of what you've already got. So, what I have got in the books for the next few days is recording Into the Spotlight. And I'm glad that I had a little funny throat thing over the weekend. So I'm kind of glad that that's gone. So that won't be making its way into the audio version. And we're going to make it happen. So I'm hoping that within, a couple of weeks, we might have an audio book version of Into the Spotlight that you can get your hot little hands on, so that you can step into the spotlight, so that you can really get yourself out there, get your message out there, and reach the people that you really want to be able to reach, and create the impact that you really want to create. Because let's be honest, that's why we're all here. So, have a very fabulous, awesome, and amazing day. Let me know if you've got any questions about this or anything else. There are a ton of free things that I've got on the books ready to create, and repurposing your stuff is actually one of them. It's sitting down, the template is sitting on my floor ready to go. Actually, have a look at this. These are my plans. I'll show you my very fabulous filing system. Here's my very fabulous filing system, everyone. You might have seen on Friday that I showed you the big pile of papers that I had ready for, hey Carmen, the big pile of papers that I discovered in my cupboard that had of all the free things, all the templates and all the things. I was like, oh my God, I'd forgotten about this. So I've pulled them out. I've created a bit of a floor system. A flooring filing system and a system in order of priority as well to get those created for you. But first stop is the audio version of Into the Spotlight. So I am going to love you and leave you. Have a really fabulous, awesome, and amazing day. And I will, of course, see you tomorrow. You know what you need to do from here. You need to get yourself out there, go help some people, have a whole ton of fun doing it, and remember that the world is ready for your brand of awesome. I will see you tomorrow.